Hey kids, welcome back to another week of Oldman Plays CFL Fantasy. This week is week 6. I'll start by saying please excuse the scruffy whole look here. It's been a long, tiring week. I'm just exhausted, and frankly, I haven't even worked up the gumption to shave yet today. I will. As far as the fantasy goes and how I'm doing, not so bad. 528.5 points overall so far for the 5 weeks. So that means I'm averaging over 100. I got 128.9 last week. That put me in fairly good shape in the leagues that I'm running in. The CFL Podcast Fantasy League is, of course, the one that I talk about the most. I was up last week against Joe from the Rouge, White, and Blue and managed to defeat him. So that's good. That puts me now at 3-2. So I'm back above 500. And we'll see how things go this week. I'm up against Dalt of Rouge Radio, who I don't know. So hopefully we have a good contest. I get the feeling from looking at his scores on the leagues, he's fairly good. But that's enough of that. Good news is there's only 3 games this week, so not so much to talk about. Bad news is there's only 3 games this week, so not so much to pick from either. It's going to make it a little bit tighter. Because there's a little less to do with 3 games coming up, I put some extra time into checking how the defenses are averaging out against the various positions and teams and whatnot. It's still too early to gather a whole lot from it. But there's a few things that may help us this week, and as the year goes on and we get more data, of course, more data, always data hungry. More data, we'll be able to tell a little bit more conclusively. But let's jump in and start with the first game of the week is not Thursday because there's only 3 games. So we're starting on Friday with Calgary at Saskatchewan. Now, this could be the best game of the week. This could be a barn burner. It's hard to say. Calgary, they certainly look good against Winnipeg, and they've been stacking up well otherwise, so hard to not believe in them. But on the other hand, VA's been spreading the ball around a lot, so it's kind of hard to pick up a consistent receiver to pair him with. And he's still, he got a couple of touchdowns last week, but he's still not getting great points through the fantasy at all. So I'm going to just avoid VA. And in fact, I'm going to avoid Calgary completely because if I'm not going for quarterback and receivers, I'd go for running back. Mills looks good. And, maybe if I can't make anything else work, I'd go with him. But I have a feeling he'll also be one of the most expensive running backs this week. And that Sasky defense is the best against the run. So we'll see. Now flip it around to the other side of the ball. Saskatchewan, again, I'm not really looking at a lot because Harris hasn't been as consistent at putting up the larger numbers as he was last year because the running game is working so well. So that kind of shies me away from Harris, and that makes me shy away from the receivers, as well as there's not a natural matchup I'm looking to take advantage of here. So there's that. But on the running side, Ouellette looks very good, has looked great, and Awachi is back, so there should be even better blocking from the fullback position. Only question there is it's not Bertrand Houdon that's dressing this week as backup, it's Carey. Carey may want to get a lot of carries against the Stamps, and if that starts working, they may play him. So, I don't know. We'll probably come down to money there. So that's that. Not much going on there. This middle game of the week, the Saturday night, Ottawa at Hamilton, that's where I think we need to make some hay where we can. Ottawa, Brown at quarterback might be worth considering because, well, for one thing, Pelios, that's how you said, I think so, is back at tackle, and that should definitely shore that up, give him a little more time to throw, and he's usually good for 300-400 yards. I just don't know about the touchdowns there. So depending on what things cost, I'll maybe consider him if I get into real trouble. And if I do, I think I'd probably hook him up with Pimpleton this week because if Hamilton shows a weakness on defense, it's against Pimpleton's position, that inside, or not inside, the middle of the three wide side receivers, the field receivers. That's where they give up the most yardage on average, and I believe the most touchdowns too. I'd have to go back and double check, but definitely there's a weakness there. Lewis should look good. That also pairs up relatively well against the Hamilton defense. And we may want to look at Keelan White as a cheap option if things start getting expensive with all these high-power guys I'm looking at. He's been solid, no touchdowns yet, but he's been getting 4 or 5 receptions a game and somewhere between 30 and 60 yards. So for a cheap receiver, that's not bad. Plus, Hamilton does give up a lot of ground through the air. So might be good going there. The other side, though, Hamilton, well, Bo, I think the way he's playing, you got to go with him. He's going to be my first choice at quarterback. And, of course, I'll team him up with Lawler because they've been very, very good to me. Yeah, 2 weeks ago, Lawler wasn't quite as good than we had last week. But we'll have to see. Possibly there as well, we might want to go with Tim White because that's another position. If Lawler gets shut down, it pretty much automatically opens up White. But you can't really afford 2 of them, so it's that kind of guessing. And Bell, just to note, in the running game, Bell is questionable again, so a little bit hard to pick there. On the Ottawa side, I didn't really talk running backs too much. With Tommy Condell, I don't trust him, that he's going to use the running backs, so I just can't go there. Now with BC at Edmonton, the Sunday night game, this is another one where I'm staying away from a lot just because of the matchups. Rourke, definitely a chance at quarterback. Who knows with how they communicate. That's the last game. He's listed as limited in practice. How did he do? Did he hurt himself more last week playing? Is he going to be able to come back and play? If he is, he's a shot, but it's a lot of money to put up there, so I'm not sure. On the other hand, if he is in there, or even if he isn't, Berryhill looks good. The Elks seem to give up a fair amount against your wide side field receiver. So Eberhardt might be a cheap option to look at there. And on Edmonton side, maybe Trey, but I'm still don't trust enough because he's not running a lot, so we're not picking up big numbers from his running ability, and he's throwing out of the pocket and doing fairly well. He'd be well down my list, probably number 4 of my picks this week, I would think. And receivers, again, none because BC is really pretty good against the pass. They haven't given up a whole lot. Dunbar's been looking good for Edmonton, so he's a possibility. But on average, BC only gives up 3 receptions and 55 yards to your boundary wide receiver, which is supposed to be your premier receiver. So who knows? Rankin in the run game, yes, definitely, maybe also because Leak was limited at practice. So we'll have to see what does that mean as far as does he get carries at all, or will it be almost all Rankin through the entire game? And I believe Arkell Smith was also listed as did not participate at practice, so I'm going to stay away from them. But that's it. Not a lot to talk about with the 3 games. Let's fire up the game zone on the computer here. We'll see what we can make work and go from there. Okay. So we wanted to start with figuring out, I said I'd like to go with Bo and Lawler, so Bo's up there. Him and Nathan are the 2 highest ranked ones, or highest priced ones. Projected scores look about the same. So we'll see. And then I wanted to team him up, if at all possible, with Kenny Lawler, who's going to be 13.8. So that, you can tell right now, that's getting tight. All right, so let's then take a look at what else did we talk about. We said Pimpleton at wide receiver. And how much is Khalil Pimpleton? He's 8.5. So that's under 10. That'll work. Let's look at where we're at with running backs. Go back on to all the teams. Go to the running backs, because Rankin and Ouellette would be my choices, I think. Look at that. Mills is the most expensive one. Rankin is $10K, so let's put him in here to begin with. Then there's Butler, and Ouellette is 12K. That leaves me, 7K to fit 3 positions. An average of 7K to fit 3 positions. Let's try this. Oh, well, this is not good. I was thinking about taking Carey for Saskatchewan, but he's not on here. That's unfortunate. Okay, well, let's come back to that then. Let's look at the flex position. And what else did we say that we were looking at there? We don't want to land up too much on any one team. Let's go for the price between 6 and 8. And who do we get? Carrick Wheatfall's in there, but he's not playing, of course. Katoy has got some points, and he's relatively good. Daniels isn't playing. I'm thinking this through. I'm not sure there's a whole lot that I like here. Winnipeg isn't playing either, or Megan Stearns. Eberhardt, where is he at? 7.2, so that maybe. Yeah, let's maybe go that way. And then let's go to the running backs again and put Ouellette in there. So let's go here. If we do that, that would only leave us 1.2K. So we're going to have to decide who do we want to use instead of Rankin or Ouellette. And let's see, Rankin is 10 and Ouellette is 13.5. So we'll take you back out of here. Ouellette out as much as I do feel better about Ouellette on this than I do about Rankin. So we're going to put him in. That means I'm going to have to find another relatively cheap running back. Actually, let me go see here. Yes, I would feel better about Dunbar than I do about Eberhardt. Just, I don't know why, but I would. So let's see, where does he come in comparatively in price? He's at 8.5. Well, first of all, let's go to defenses and see, first of all, defense, all the teams, and who's the cheapest one. Edmonton comes in the cheapest. I can get them at 4. And I mean, yeah, mind you, I'm moving up quite a bit to get anybody who looks a lot better than that, and I just don't think I have the room. So let's try that, see what we get with them. They're saying they're projecting not good against BC, but you never know. That leaves me now 5K to spend on a running back if we go that way. Running back here. All but we need to be looking between 4 and 6. And there's not a lot to choose from. Augustine might get some, especially if Bell is questionable. That worked out for me last week. What about if I do that? That leaves me with 0.8K. Now, that's Dunbar, Pimpleton, Lawler, Augustine, Ouellette, Mitchell, Edmonton Elks defense, and Dunbar at the wide receivers. But I've got, what do I have here to spend? 0.8, and I'm spending 8.5 on, I'm spending, 8.5 on Dunbar, which is the same as Pimpleton. Back to our flex player, and what do we have to spend? 10.3. So who all do we have here? Whoops. Let's look at this on the price. Over 10K. Philpott's not playing. A lot of people that aren't playing here as we work our way down. I'm going to change this to price so that I can just, once I get down past 10.3, I know I can just take whoever I find. Okay, so here's where we're looking at. Oh, and Greg Bell, I don't know that he's coming in. Keyshawn Johnson, yes. I feel better about him than Dunbar. I definitely do. And so that now means that we have 0.3K left to do. So just to run through them again, Edmonton defense, because that was all I could possibly afford. Going to ride the Bow train. I'm a Bow lever again this year. And running backs, I'm going with Ouellette and Augustine. The wide receivers, I'm going with Lawler and Pimpleton out of Ottawa. And my flex is the slot back, actually. He's playing now. Johnson out of Saskatchewan. I've got to make someone a captain. Out of this whole bunch, I'm going to go with Bo. Going to save it there. That's it. Okay, kids. Well, that's it. It's going to be a tough week. I can tell that. Anyway, that's what we've got. Those are my choices. If you choose to use them, as always, do so at your peril. And other than that, well, I hope we all get 3 really good games of CFL football this weekend. It's quite possible. And I hope you all have fantastic weeks at your fantasy. Until next week, Oldman signing off.